So I've been sharing with you the steps to recovering from chronic illness. And so first of all, we had talked about believing that it is possible. The second step was to commit to the process. The third step was to remove the foods that cause inflammation. Now today we're going to talk about how to replace those foods. So that's the fourth step, is replacing the foods that were causing inflammation with anti-inflammatory foods. So what would be the first step? I think the easiest thing to do would be to decide to go plant-based. Now, some people are partway plant-based, and I know some people who want to be plant-based, but they're waiting until they finish all the chicken in the freezer or that kind of thing. And so I would really, really recommend that the moment that you decide this is what you're going to do, just give your food away, throw it out, or that type of thing. I actually, I was helping a lady friend to get on a more plant-based anti-inflammatory diet. And so I went over to her house, and she had a lot of processed food, meats, and that kind of thing in the fridge. And what I had to do is I asked her permission, and then I basically threw all her food out into the garbage, and I replaced it. I restocked her fridge with plant-based foods. And she was really kind of in shock. She wasn't expecting me to do that. But the next morning she called me and she told me that it was a good thing that I had done what I did, because the first thing that she did in the morning was she walked to her fridge and she was just gonna eat the same thing, because she was just so in the habit of eating the same thing that she had always had. And so when you're first starting out on this, it's really good to really clear out all the junk. Don't let it be in the house. And I tend to be someone who, if it's there, I tend to eat it. And that's when I used to be addicted to things like chocolate. I had to really get rid of it. And I was like a drug addict. I would be all over the cupboards to look to see, like, if I had hidden chocolate somewhere, maybe that, because when you get addicted to these things, it's like, it is a drug. So in any case, replacing the inflammatory foods, go plant-based. It's the easiest and best way to go anti-inflammatory. The other thing about going plant-based, though, is that you want it to be non-GMO, and you want it to be without glyphosate residues and that type of thing. So the best way is, to grow as much of your own food as you can, especially in the summertime. It's not a difficult thing to grow. Even the green leafies, you can grow them on a deck or that kind of thing if you don't have a whole lot of property. But we recommend about 70% of your diet be raw. And so that would be getting a good salad in there every day. That would be getting some fruits in there. For those of us with leaky gut, we don't want to be eating the real sweet fruits. So we eat things like kiwis, green apples, pomegranates, and berries. Those fruits tend to not have as high of a sugar content. Now, we also recommend that you not eat grains and nuts when you're first starting to recover, because these tend to be more difficult to digest. And so what are you going to eat in place of the grains? Well, we recommend 3 pseudograins. These are the seeds of non-grassy plants, because grains are the seeds of grassy plants. And so these are quinoa, buckwheat, and amaranth. You can cook them like you would a rice or oatmeal or that kind of thing. You can bake with them. And so that's what we use for that. We also, instead of nuts, we're using things like sunflower seeds and pumpkin seeds. And then, of course, we're also getting the omega-3s using chia seeds and flaxseed. And instead of things like dairy types of milk, we would use a plant-based milk, and that would be with like coconut or sunflower or pumpkin seed. And we have recipes for that in the book that we have coming out. We're also, instead of things like a dairy cheese, we have recipes for a plant-based cheesy sauce. And instead of chips like potato chips and that type of thing, we recommend things like kale chips and zucchini chips that are dehydrated. And so those are just some ways that you can replace the things that are causing the inflammation, that feel like comfort food, so that you don't feel like you're starving yourself. And actually, when people eat this way, they find that they feel quite satiated, and the food actually tastes great. You know, we want it to be an experience that your whole family is going to enjoy, and so that you don't have to be cooking for just yourself and then make another meal for the family. That doesn't make any sense, right? So what we've done, so this is a cookbook called the Autoimmune Plant-Based Cookbook, and these are recipes that Mercy has used. Mercy's my partner, and she's used them at her lifestyle center, Years Restored, for many years to help people who are recovering from chronic illness, and specifically leaky gut and food sensitivities. And so all of these recipes are done with these pseudograins and with these fatty seeds instead of nuts. And we also don't use any oils, and so we're using just plant-based foods to provide the fat that we need. We have a section in here on how to remove and replace and repair the gut. And the first part of our recipes have been organized into a 7-day meal plan. And that's so that you will know how to put a breakfast together, how to put a lunch together in such a way that your blood sugar is going to be stable, that you won't be struggling with these high, low blood sugars and feel like you need to eat all day. So we have breakfast, we have lunch, and then we don't even have a dinner meal, because it's actually healthiest when you're eating 2 meals a day. So let me show you a picture of what the breakfast day 1 looks like. This is the buckwheat waffle and the carob mousse and the smoothie. So that would be for day 1. And then we have lunch day 1, and we go up to day 7. And then after that, you have additional recipes that you can substitute for things within the meal plan. So I hope that that is helpful as far as how to replace the foods that you've had to remove. And the next video is going to be on how to repair the gut. And so that would be specifically how we prepare these foods, superfoods that we can use, and other natural things that we can do to help heal the leaky gut.